move this closer.
So we can hear your melodious voice.
Listen to the crap. Acquired, even I should not be in. No, we should not. Welcome to Check-In, everyone. I'm Sara Lusky. He is Jamie Thomas. We are getting you set for game 41 of the regular season. Can you believe that we've already done 40?
Halfway. Where did the time go? Where did it go? Just like yesterday, we were talking in training camp. And here we are.
Game 41, Winnipeg Jets hosting the Detroit Red Wings as this 8-game homestand. The longest of the season for them, second longest that they've had since they returned to Winnipeg in 2011, goes tonight. So looking forward to this one as they close out the season series. These two teams obviously met back earlier, 6-2 win in Detroit. Very dominant win for them then. But this is a Red Wings team that comes in with a new coaching staff. Yeah. Some changes made right after the Christmas break. So we've seen some changes from Detroit. So this should be a good one here tonight.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you go back to the time when Winnipeg played Detroit earlier in the year, you kind of felt bad for Detroit because the Jets had just lost their first game of the year.
To Toronto,
like it didn't look very good the way they played the Leafs and they're on home ice. So they go on the road to Detroit and Columbus and dominate both games. Detroit is, they almost got into the playoffs last year. So it was another one like Buffalo and Ottawa where you're like, is this the year that they're going to get into the playoffs finally? And they look like one of those teams that was going to take that jump because of how well they played down the stretch last year. They haven't, and Todd McClellan has taken over for Derek Lalonde in Detroit. So we're going to have Trevor Thompson on from FanDuel Sports Network to talk about the Red Wings, the changes. Is the Yzer plan working? He's had a significant amount of time to turn things around there. And Detroit has one of the longest playoff droughts in the National Hockey League. I believe second longest playoff drought.
For it.
Yeah.
Second to Buffalo.
Yes.
For it. But you think about it, for so many years, Detroit, they made the playoffs 25 consecutive seasons. They were always there. I mean, they dominated for so many years and were always in the mix, and now 7 seasons without. So we'll see. They are looking to, one of the things Steve Yzerman said when he met with the media after making the coaching change was that his expectation for this year, if everything went well, was that they were going to be a wild card team.
Yeah.
We will see whether or not they are able to do that. The Wings, as I mentioned, have had success in the very short period of time since Todd has taken over. They've won their last 3 games by a combined. They've scored 13 goals. They outscored opponents 13-8 as well. We've seen improvements in a number of areas, including power play. They've had the second best power play in that limited stretch, 46%, second most points in the league as well. So there's a lot of things that Todd wanted to institute when he came in. He's still getting his bearings about them, but certainly the energy that he's brought, you've heard Wings players speak about the benefit of it. So the Jets will certainly have a different Wings team to contend with tonight, and Winnipeg looking to get back into the win column. They only got 1 point out of that game against Anaheim the other night.
That was such a strange game because they played so well in the first period. They jump up to a 2-0 lead. And this is like the respect you have to give Anaheim because they're just pesky Ducks now. They would not go away. They chipped their way back into the game and tied things up. And then when Alex Iafallo scored that goal in the third period, you're thinking, okay, here's Connor Hellebuck's 300th win. Let's get ready for it. And Anaheim scored not long after. I think just under a minute later, tied it up, and then went to overtime. Now, you lose that game in overtime, but Nikolai Ehlers...
It's always good when he starts. Now.
You lose the game, but Nikolai Ehlers had a breakaway in overtime at a good chance. John Gibson made a big save. The net gets knocked off the moorings by Mark Scheifele. They come back the other way, and Anaheim scores. So the Jets did have some good scoring chances in overtime and a chance to win that. But a lot of the conversation was they liked parts of it. They were dominant in the third period. They had lots of ozone time.
Did not like the second period.
No, the second period was a disaster, according to Scott Arniel, and Dane Chanel echoed those statements yesterday following the Jets' optional skate their practice facility. So it's consistency that they have to get back to. They've only not won in 2 games now, but time to start things rolling here as they continue this 8-game homestand.
Absolutely. So you mentioned it was an optional skate yesterday for practice. It was an optional this morning too. Those that didn't skate yesterday, skated this morning. So a little bit of both. Scott Arniel spoke to the media. He said there are no changes to the lineup that they are anticipating for this evening. So when you take a look at what the lines are expected to be, then this is what we, barring some sort of sickness, this is what we are expecting to see. Ville Heinola remains in with Colin Miller on that third pairing. Connor Hellebuck getting that opportunity since he didn't get 300 the other night, on the verge of it again, sitting at 299. Should he get it, he will be the third fastest goaltender in NHL history to hit the 300 mark and the fastest U.S.-born goaltender to ever achieve it. So you know it's coming.
Yes. Just rather have it sooner rather than later. Especially with an 8-game homestand, because then it becomes more the conversation, rather what the team is doing, wins and loss wise. You're starting to focus a lot on the 300th win.
Yeah, and there'd be something. I mean, to be able to do it in front of home friends, which it has been a fantastic atmosphere inside Canada Life Center. It was another sold out crowd the other night. It's the energy's been great. So for him, and he's really spoken about his love for the fans and the energy that they have provided and how great it's been playing here at Canada Life Center. So if you were able to get it and maybe get it against Detroit, maybe that's something. It could have some sort of Hallmark-esque.
We want to Chuck on the show today, though. Let's.
I know. I was hoping if you had got the last game, I was going to see whether or not Chuck Hellebuck would come on and join us. So maybe we'll save that. Hopefully, we'll see if he will on a different day once they've achieved that. Also of note, Dylan Sandberg continues to skate in the yellow jersey, but a different guy out there today making waves. Hayden Fleury also out in a yellow jersey now. So non-contact. Whether they would have been out if it had been a full morning skate or if it had been a practice, no, probably not. It was an optional, so that's why it was safe for them to do so. But getting closer, another positive sign, which then will inevitably lead to questions about the blue line. They will have choices to make once those two get healthy.
And that's been the hard part for the coaching staff, is trying to get everybody their minutes and keep them all fresh with the even with the injuries that they have. Scott O'Neill did say Hayden Fleury, if it was a normal practice, he would not have been on the ice. Of that, and regardless of being in a non-contact jersey or not. So the point is, they are getting closer to returning, and that's only good news for the Jets.
Absolutely. Okay, you had a question of the day, which I see so many people already in the chat, which we love to see. Review watching online too. Don't forget to hit that like button, the heart. Not sure which one it is, depending on which platform you're on, but always appreciate the support and always great to see so many of you in here.
Awesome. Question of the day. We just talked about Alex Iafallo scoring the go-ahead goal the other night. He had goal and assist. So he is, since the injury to Mason Appleton, who was put on injured reserve yesterday, retroactive to December 28th, I believe it was. So that has allowed Alex Iafallo the chance to play on the third line. So what have you liked about Alex Iafallo on the Lowry line so far? Just throw us your comments on that one, along with letting us know where you're coming from, and of course all the other great witty stuff that you give us on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, always like to see it mentioned. So many. We have some new faces that are in the chat, as well as some new names. I like one. Slam that like button. Slam it, smash it, do whatever you need to do. We always appreciate the support and love to see so many of you continue to join us, especially we'll get even more people in the chat and get more people watching as well as we continue to grow this, because we're only at the halfway point, so still so much left to come.
All right. So our guest today, we just talked about Trevor Thompson coming on, so I'll also show you who else is, because you talked with the captain, Adam Lowry.
Yep.
And you got to ask him about what he's thought about Alex Iafallo being on that line with him.
Got to tell him. You got to tell him what you thought.
Adam, you can tell me how you think about this. And of course, I mentioned
my feelings though.
Yeah, Trevor Thompson will join us. Trevor Thompson, by the way, is Canadian. He's from Ontario, but he's been covering the Red Wings for
years,
a long time, and has won a lot of Emmys in the process down there in Detroit. So, we're thrilled to have him on the show a little bit later. And of course, we'll have your conversation with Adam here momentarily.
Yeah, but so with an optional skate, there was limited availability in terms of players this morning, but the narrative really around Mark Scheifele came out and spoke to the media. It's a lot of the questions centering around this Red Wings team and just new look. They've seen a number of teams this year that have just made coaching changes.
Because there's been a lot of coaching
changes.
There
have been a lot, but that was really what the narrative was in the dressing room today, was about that. And then also, since it was Scheifele, good Canadian, who we know has played for Team Canada in a variety of capacities in different age groups. Before, he was asked about the disappointing end to the World Juniors for Team Canada, losing out in the quarterfinal to Czechia. But it did provide he did provide some perspective, but then also a little bit of humor as well.
You know, I played my first year in Canada in Calgary and Edmonton, so obviously there's a lot of media attention to it, and at a young age too. So you're not really used to it. It's not like you've been doing it for 10 years. It's definitely is something that you have to get used to, and you know, even more so nowadays with social media and everything. You know, and I was, you know, I'm aging myself, but you know, back then I feel like it was only Twitter. You know, now it's X, so you know, it's a different animal nowadays. But you know, I think that's something that just comes with learning, and it's all part of the whole learning process.
As fans, I think we expect Canada to win it every year. Did you feel that when you played, that we expect to win this, or we are expected to win it?
You put pressure. You know, you put pressure on yourself as well. You know, you want to win. You know, it's everyone's goal is to win that gold medal, and you know, only one team gets to win it, and you know, I didn't have the chance. I didn't have the luck to win it either. So you know, it's one of those things. It's just a matter of the learning curve, and something if you you know, take it in stride and learn from it, you're only going to be better from it.
I'm not sure behind the scenes, but would there ever be a chance that a guy like Josh Morrissey would rub in the fact that he won gold when you didn't?
I don't know. Maybe I had a gold at Worlds and he didn't. So, you know, you know, you're not going to even it off.
So I wasn't in the room for that, but so as some additional context to that Josh had come off and was apparently sitting at his stall, and so while Mark was fielding questions about
a huge smile on his face.
So while he was fielding questions about the World Juniors, apparently Josh was sitting in his stall, kind of doing
So you didn't even have to really. He didn't even have to do that because you saw the smirk on his face. You knew that's what he was thinking. And Scott Brown, the PR guru of the Winnipeg Jets, also to the side with Josh. They were all kind of snickering together on that one. So the timing of the answer from Scheif was pretty good about the fact that he won a World Championship gold medal, but never had the opportunity to win gold for Canada at the World Juniors.
Yeah, obviously a disappointing end for them, and some good points that he made too about the challenges of, you know, it's always a different beast when you're playing in Canada. It's fantastic, but it certainly does bring with it a different level of pressure. And now with social media being what it is.
Well, everybody's a coach and everybody's a general manager, obviously, so they have to offer that opinion that way when Canada doesn't win.
Right, which everyone does on everything.
And there's some valid points when things don't go well for Canada at this event. So.
Yes. For it. I love seeing some of these comments. I follow on the third line. He gives it a little more scoring touch and grit. Certainly it gives it a little bit of the scoring touch. So you mentioned that I had the chance to speak to Adam Lowry, and so I also went way off the board and asked him about Detroit. But I did ask him about Iafallo joining his line as well.
Look at this game tonight against Detroit. Obviously, they've had a coaching change since the last time that you guys saw them. They appear to be having that new coach bump as well as some of their systems and results. What is it that you need to be aware of?
I think their transition game, that's something they've always been good at, and tried to get some trade secrets out of Copper last night, but he wasn't given any. So, you know, I think we look at their top six, they have a lot of skill, a lot of speed on the wings, and yeah, you have to be aware of that. And then they got some D that like to jump up in the rush. So, you know, similar to the start we had against Anaheim, we want to, you know, more focus on our style of play, our structure, and, you know, get to our forecheck as quick as possible.
Always have former teammates or often on different teams, but how nice is it just to be able to see a guy like Andrew Copp when he comes back in and catch up a little bit?
Yeah, it's great. It's you know, spent a lot of time with him here. He's a good friend, so anytime you get to, you know, have a meal together and, you know, get some of the guys together and talk about life, you know, see how his wife's doing, see how, you know, things are going for him in Detroit. It's always nice to catch up, and you always look forward to those games where you get to play against your buddies, and you know, hopefully you come out on top.
Is there a lot of talking that goes on the ice?
No, you know what? Copper's usually pretty serious, so he's.
Okay, so how about from you?
No, it's usually after the game. Whoever gets the better of the other one, he would like to razz him a bit. So, like I said, you know, hopefully we're looking to get back on track and, you know, put forth a good effort tonight.
You guys have done a good job this season of being able to get back on track, kind of in short order usually. Why do you think this team has been good at doing that this year?
Well, I think, you know, we approached losses and, you know, tried to learn from them and tried to implement what Arnie's talking about. I think the Anaheim game, for the most part, I thought we played pretty solid. There was obviously some mistakes, and that's the difference in a tightly contested game. But I think looking at that game as a whole, we liked a lot of what we did. We didn't give up a lot of chances. We were really disciplined. We created a lot off the forecheck and really good on our puck retrievals. So, I think it goes back to coaching and their teaching, and then us doing a good job of being receptive to that, and just trying to put your best foot forward every night. And we've had some good success so far this year.
2 more questions for you, Alex. I followed. He's been up in your line. Why is it that you think that he's fit in well with you guys, and what does he bring to this line?
Well, I think dating back to when we got him from the Kings, when you look at who he got to play with there, it was usually Kopitar and Kempe, and 2 highly skilled players he was playing on their first line. He's so versatile. We talked about Copp earlier. He's kind of like Copper. He can go up and down the lineup. Plays on the power play, plays on the penalty kill. Real responsible defensively. He's great on the forecheck. I think. Runs a great route on his setup. It was a great pass. Yeah, I think just his hockey sense and his compete. It just blends well with Nino and myself.
Finally, this game 41, so the halfway point tonight of the season, where when you look ahead, know that the hockey only gets more intense as you go through. What would you like to see from your group going into the second half of the season?
I think just the consistency night in, night out. I think that we've had stretches of hockey where we've really liked our game, then we've had some stretches and some lulls that we haven't loved it. But I think the more structure we can have in our game, the better defensively we can be, and that's line rushes against, that's in the D zone. I think that's where, when we're at our best, is we're a good transition team when we're turning pucks over the neutral zone, and that's something that we want to continue working on, so when the playoffs come, we're ready to go.
Really appreciate the time as always.
Thanks, Sarah.
There's Adam Lowry. You may not have seen the background, but Eric Comrie was having a tough time in practice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We heard a few words from Eric that we did not expect to hear.
Right.
And then it stopped right before,
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as I thanked Adam, then it was perfect timing. I thank
Jim
Adam.
Palms hit.
Comrie took his stick and just wailed on it.
I think everybody was scoring on him on the breakaway as practice was winding down. So that was some of the funner stuff. And then just great comments there about, the relationship continues to be solid with Andrew Copp. Like he still is a member of the Winnipeg Jets, almost 8 years here. And
well, I think he's such a great guy. I mean, he obviously spent so many years with Lowry
Mm-hmm.
on that line. And you think Andrew Copp was certainly one of the media's favorite players to go and speak to, just with the insight that he was able to provide. And he was so articulate and so always appreciated the time that he gave us. He got married this summer.
Yeah.
So we're all just getting so
see,
old.
that's the whole thing. We're talking about game 41. Andrew Copp's married now. I remember when he was still single when he was here and doing a podcast with him about meeting girls and stuff. And that one kind of went off the rails.
Quickly.
So what were you looking for?
Well, there's a pair of socks around that I liked, but I'm not sure what happened to them. Anyways,
This one?
Yes, if you're coming to the game tonight, fashion socks are off 30% off our year save the game. So take a look at them. One of the things that actually struck me about these ones, the size 12 through 15, which is impressive.
Grab those for Aaron.
Maybe
They might fit. They might not.
You don't see a lot of that size. But anyways, fashion socks.
This is like the Christmas gift
off.
that keeps on giving. The stuff that you give your dad every year for Christmas.
I was just thinking I was going to use them as gloves. Actually, if you ever did you ever do that when you had babies? You put socks on their hands.
I never did. Where were you on that one?
We always put socks on so that she wouldn't scratch her face or anything like that when she was really young.
That's a good idea.
Well, it's so cold in here right now. Take them off and do it myself. So many great comments continuing to be in here. Absolutely, you know what, as many people do miss Andrew Copp, what the Winnipeg Jets were able to get back in that trade with him certainly paying off is another example of the great job that Kevin Shoveldale has done so often with so many of his trades and looking longer term the way that they have been able to work out.
Yeah, especially that one. I mean, we can go down the list forever about all the great trades that Chevy has made, but that was certainly a good one. And, Andrew Copp was playing some of his best hockey before that trade, so it kind of helped his value as well. But really miss Andrew Copp around here just a great guy. For if you want to break down the game, he was one of the best guys to go to.
Absolutely, from an insight perspective,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah, and someone that knows about breaking down the game is a guy that's Canadian and American at the same time.
I'm claiming Canada right now, guys. I got you with the way things are going in the world, but whoever wants to pay me, I got some affection and some loyalty there too.
Trevor Thompson, everybody. Pleased to have you on board. Listen, how are things going? Like, there's coaching change. Steve Yzerman spoke out the other day. A lot of expectations for this team. But we'll start first with the coaching change of Todd McLellan.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on, and certainly since Todd McLellan's come to town, they've gotten 3 wins in the last 4 games, so the mood has been lifted. The spirits are higher. There were a lot of grumpy people in that locker room coming into the Christmas break, certainly with the way the Wings were playing. So the spirits have been changed, and you talk about Andrew Copp. He's one of those guys in that room that certainly hates losing more than he enjoys winning. So he was a bit surly prior to the break, a bit of a smile on this morning back in familiar digs here in Winnipeg. So the team winning, he's back home. He's got lots more to be happy about right now. The team seems to be a lot happier right now, and certainly winning does cure all things. So they're on a bit of a roll right now, and the guys are feeling good.
When you think of the number of years now that Yzerman has been back in Detroit, Trevor, and people like to talk about the Yzer plan.
Yeah, Yzer plan.
Yeah. Where are things at with that? I mean, I know that he said that he was hoping that this team was going to be a wild card team this year. Is he running out of time in Detroit? What's the sentiment like around there?
There's going to be a patient approach. He's had a patient approach. There's only so much patience that fans have right now, that players have, and really that management has right now. And he admitted he thought this thing would be further along. He wanted this thing to be accelerated. He hoped they'd be further than they are right now. At the same time, you look at the standings, you see where they are, and there's not a lot to be happy about. But when you look at some individual performances and the development of their young kids, there's a lot to be happy about. Simon Edmondson growing leaps and bounds. This guy looks like a future all-star right now. Mo Sider, already a Calder Trophy winner, and he continues to grow. Tonight he'll play in his 285th consecutive game to start his career. That's second all-time in Red Wing history, and just tied Nick Lidstrom in that department the other night. He'll pass him here tonight. This kid is a stud back there. Lucas Raymond developing into a point-per-game player. He could go over 80 points for the first time in his career and can continue to move forward. There's a lot of things to be happy about with the development of their kids and with the growth of individual players along the way. But the record, not so happy about that. The lack of a playoff appearance, not so happy about that. That you have to make a coaching change, you're not happy about that. But in the end, I think they've got a great head coach here going forward with Todd McLellan. They're looking to turn things around, and I think better days are ahead.
You mentioned Andrew Copp a little bit earlier, Trevor. What has he been like? And has the amount of time he's been in Detroit, is he starting to become more of a leader within the dressing room? And then I'll comment on his on-ice play as well.
Yeah, and we talked to him this morning, and when you talk to this guy, his hockey IQ is off the charts. He understands the game as well as anyone. He's got a heart for the game. He's one of those guys that's a glue guy, a guy that's going to take you to the next level, a guy that you need to win. And like I said, a guy who hates losing more than he enjoys winning. So he's digging in every day and trying to show and lead by example every day in practice and on the ice with his work ethic. And right now he's got the opportunity to play between Alex DeBrincat and Patrick Kane on the second line right now. And Kane and DeBrincat both have three-game point streaks going right now. Point totals are starting to rise for Andrew Copp, but he's not out there to really rack up the points in the production. That's a secondary scorer, if you will. But what he does and how he retrieves puck, how he defends on that line, and how he drives that line with his work ethic is really something that line needs, and that this team needs, and that he provides on a day in and day out basis. So a very crucial part of the team going forward, has been since he's got here. They look for him for his leadership and secondary scoring production, and I think he's provided all that. And he's got a hunger in him right now that I think other guys are feeding off of.
Just really quickly before you go, I just want to go back to the coaching change just quickly and what we've seen in those 4 games since Todd's taken over. What is the biggest difference? I know that I was reading players and listening to some of the interviews, players have talked about, a little bit more intensity, their starts, that sort of thing. But when you're watching game, what is the biggest difference now compared to what we saw before the Christmas break?
I'll just give you a bit of a more of a 30,000-foot view of all that. And I think that when he's come in, one of the things he identified he needed to do was lift the mood, lift the spirits of this team. Mm-hmm. And a couple of days ago, he had a practice where he started with the chaos drill. It's the girl that drill you do in like pee-wee hockey. You skate around the middle, everybody's got a puck. They blow the whistle, you try to knock it off your guy's team, and the last guy with the puck on his stick is the winner. So he introduced that drill. He had another fun drill to open practice the other day, and that's just to remind guys, and he said it verbally too, just play effing hockey. You've done it all your life. So he really wants to take the thinking out of it, get back to having fun, and in that way, it's resulted in better results and more flow during the game. They're playing more instinctively, not mechanically, a little less thinking, and just roll the lines and continue to go. So I think that their spirits have been lifted. There's a lot less thinking involved, so they're getting back to playing more of a natural game, and I think that it's really paid off as far as just the attitudes go right now. The new structure, the new system is one thing, and it looks like it's going to be successful. But I think just lifting these guys' moods, getting a few wins, and changing the atmosphere, lightening things up has really made a big difference since he's arrived in town.
The most important question, though, Trevor, is he easy to deal with from a media perspective?
Oh,
That's
he's
all
the best.
that's all that really matters in the whole scheme of things.
He was there in 08 and a couple of years before that with Mike Babcock in Detroit, and he was one of the guys I went to just to talk. He's that kind of guy. You can just sit around and shoot crap with a guy like that. He's really got a really easygoing attitude. I think the players are going to respond to that, but he's going to hold everybody accountable. He's a veteran coach. He's approaching 1,150 games as a coach in this league, so he knows what he's doing. He knows how to read the room. I think he knows how to get the most out of individuals and build relationships as far as that goes individually. We're seeing some of that take place as he gets to know these guys early on. But a great guy to deal with in the media, great guy in the room for these guys, and I think a great move by Steve Yzerman. If you had to make a coaching decision, great guy to bring in.
Well, Trevor, I appreciate your time as always. And can you please just grab me that painting, the orange one with a little
You like that?
fire going on that? That would look really good in my basement.
The fine art here at the Delta.
Thanks, buddy. Happy New Year. Talk to you
See
soon.
you guys. Happy New Year to you guys as well. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for having me. Good to be on with you guys.
Trevor Thompson joining us.
Such a good guy.
It's amazing.
You know, I forgot to mention, obviously, Cobb's back. Ben Sherrod as well.
Yeah.
Probably mentioned.
Yeah.
He's always
Kind of a big part of what happened here.
Yeah, and playing a key role still with the Wings on that first defensive pairing too. Excuse me, I saw someone in the chat ask about the lineup. If you missed it earlier, you're late joining to us.
Tell you what.
Scott O'Neill has said that there will be no lineup changes that are anticipated for this evening. It was just an optional skate. So when you look at specifically the question was relating to the blue line, we are not expecting any changes to the lineup tonight against Detroit.
No, that's exactly what Scott O'Neill has said. It was a quick answer. It was like, no.
No. We're just saying. So the Jets have a 7-game point streak going on at Canada Life Center right now. 5-0-2. They are now 4-2. Or they had their second loss, should I say, this season when it came to overtime. They have been so strong in that area, though, in the limited times that they have. We mentioned Alex Iafallo, the job that he's done. Last game, scoring first could be key in this game. The energy that I said that Detroit feels that they're playing with right now, especially early on, they have not had much success when you look at the season as a whole. When it comes to the opponent scoring first, 8-15 for Detroit, 12-8 for the Jets. So we have seen the Jets obviously be able to overcome adversity, especially early on.
Yes.
There's been no panic in this Jets team.
No, and what were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
Okay, well, just keep in mind also win 300 sitting there for Connor Hellebuck.
Absolutely. I was just going to make the quick mention that I thought when Trevor was talking about, you know, how this plan is taking, how Steve Yzerman had hoped that they would be a little bit farther along with it. Now with the Wings having won 3 straight, and in fact, the East right now, they're the only team that has won their last 3 games.
Right.
For it, they've been able to close the point differential a little bit between that second wild card spot right now in the East, which is currently held by the Ottawa Senators.
But how many teams are in front of them though?
Well, this is it. So they're only 4 back of Ottawa, but they would have to jump over Ottawa, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Philadelphia, and Montreal. So it's just a reminder of how getting into that hole early, how difficult it can be to be able to get out of it in terms of the number of opponents often that you have to jump over. Key for the Winnipeg Jets as we look to the second half of the season will be all of the points that they have been able to accumulate in the first half, so that should there be any little speed bumps along the way, you have built up that nice cushion in terms of teams behind you.
Well, I remember the year that the season got canceled because of COVID. The Jets had got themselves in some trouble, and then they were on like a tear right before the shutdown of the league. But they had to win a bunch of games in a row. It's the pressure's on all the time. So that's what Detroit is going to be going through here. Like, unlike where the Jets, where they sit, you want to keep things, sustain things, keep playing well, and be consistent because of the tear they got up at the beginning part of the year. It's just so hard to make up ground starting now after the Christmas break and certainly the start of the new year. So a lot of work ahead for Todd McClellan, but great coaches find ways with great players, 100%. And the Red Wings have lots of those.
So as we close out the show here today, the Jets 12-4 against the East. They have won 4 straight. They are averaging 4.44 goals against the Eastern Conference team, which is tops in the league when it comes to goals for against Eastern Conference opponents. Most importantly, as you and I always joke now with this 8-game homestand and about how it's the homestand that will never end.
Yeah.
4th game in 6 days for the Jets, but after this, they have just 1 in 5 days. Scott Arniel spoke about the importance of that in the sense of being able to get practice time as well. So it will be a little bit quieter from the Jets in terms of games over the next 5-6 days, but they will be able to work on some of the different systems and different elements that they want to. And that's something that when they have had struggles in the past this season or little blips on the radar, that Scott has pointed to, that if they haven't had practice time, they haven't been able to work on different elements of the game.
Right.
So it's sometimes I always find it interesting how at this level still and partway through just how important that practice time can be.
Yeah, you think that they practice so much throughout their lives and through their time in the National Hockey League, they don't need much practice time. They most certainly do. And you even think about with Dylan Sandberg and Hayden Fleury, getting closer to returning. It'd be great for them to get some more practice time as they work their way back through injuries.
Yes, absolutely. All right. That is it for us. Thanks so much to so many of you for joining us today. Great to see so many people that also hit the like button or smashed it.
Yeah.
As others said, we always appreciate guys in the chat, be able to talk with each other, but then also answer the questions, get some insight from you as well. Hopefully that you enjoyed the show, that you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Don't forget that it is a 6 o'clock game tonight. So earlier start is 6 o'clock game tonight on Sportsnet
360 and CJOB, and of course Power 97 for your radio.
As always, with Paul Edmonds and Mitchell Quinton. So that is it for us for today, but we will see you all on Tuesday.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks so much for checking in.